Hi, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today we're going to be making creamy Tuscan salmon shrimp pasta. You start out really simply by just sauteing up some salmon in a frying pan with some olive oil and seasoning it with salt and pepper. So the recipe that I'm following, I'm going to put in the details. I know you're not supposed to use a fork, and it's kind of weird how I was flipping that, but that's just what I had on hand at the time when I was making this. I used what I had. Anyway, so you're going to cook salmon and you're going in olive oil and season it with salt and pepper. Now the recipe does not call to break it up. I break it up because that's just the way I like to make this recipe. So usually when I make recipes, including a lot of the ones that I'm going to be making for YouTube, I like to kind of use the recipes as a guide and then just kind of make it the way that I prefer, like for how it's best for my family, and also a lot of times just what makes it a little bit simpler. So I just cook up the salmon and then I just kind of break it up. The recipe does not say to break it up. It basically has you do the salmon fillets whole and keep them whole. But I like to break it up like this because you can kind of stretch the salmon a little bit more, for when you mix it in through the pasta. I make it into more like a pasta dish rather than like a one pot type pasta dish where it's all mixed together, rather than kind of serving the salmon and shrimp over top of the pasta. So the salmon was done there. I put it on a plate. Then the next step is to cook up some shrimp. You basically just take the shrimp and saute it in the same pot, or same pan rather, that you had the salmon in. You just kind of drizzle some olive oil in there and season it with salt and pepper. Same thing, just like with the salmon, and then just cook it up until the shrimp is done. So while the shrimp is cooking here, if you're not familiar with me or my channel, my name is Lola. I'm from Lola's Frugal Life podcast, which is primarily a podcast on Apple Podcasts. I do episodes every Monday on time management and money management topics, but then I also do a weekly meal plan episode every Wednesday where I share my meal plan that I am going to be cooking for my family for the upcoming week. And then I have a blog post on my website at lolasfrugallife.com where I share that same meal plan. So these recipes that I'm going to start sharing on YouTube are some of the recipes that I include in my meal plan in those episodes. So I figure it'd be kind of a nice combination to have these available too, if anyone's listening to those meal plan episodes and wants to kind of have more of a visual of what the recipes might look like, and also to kind of show that they are usually pretty simple recipes to make. I try to keep with things that are generally pretty easy, quicker meals. Certain nights I make meals that are a little bit more time consuming, other nights quicker, but this one's pretty quick to make. So then here I'm just putting the shrimp with the salmon on a plate, because you have to set it aside, and then you're going to make the sauce, which basically you're just going to saute up some butter, and then you're going to add I think it's just some lemon juice. I'm just trying to go back and look at the actual recipe here. Yeah, so you're basically just sauteing up butter, and then you're going to wind up adding some spinach. So I actually had spinach that I had frozen that was left over and I saved. So when you're making a recipe like this, it's totally fine to use frozen fresh spinach rather than just regular fresh spinach. It comes out perfectly fine in this type of recipe. So if you ever have spinach that you feel like is going to go bad soon, you could just freeze it and then just take it out of the freezer and throw it in a recipe like this type of a meal. It comes out perfectly fine. So you cook up the spinach in the butter, and then you add some sun-dried tomatoes, and then you cook them a little bit longer with the spinach. Now the recipe does call for also onions and garlic in this recipe, which those aren't things that I usually use, so I left them out. But like I said, I will have the link to the full recipe. What I'm sharing here is just the way I make the recipe, and I always make little modifications either based on what I have on hand or what my family prefers. So the full recipe will be included in the link of this video. So then you add a cup of cream, and then you just continue to kind of cook that down until it gets to a little bit of a thicker consistency. And this is basically going to be your sauce for the meal. So again, add some salt and pepper, and then like I said, you're just going to let that simmer a little bit. The sauce will begin to thicken as some of the liquid evaporates. Now I know I should not be pouring straight from a lemon juice bottle directly into the pan like that. That's not recommended because you could have a big accident, but sometimes I take chances, and I took a chance then because I was just being lazy and didn't feel like getting a measuring spoon. So you can do that at your own risk if you choose to. So again, just letting it simmer down, and then we're going to wind up adding back the shrimp and the salmon to this sauce. And that's basically the bulk of the recipe. So here you could see we're simmered down a little bit. We're going to add back the shrimp and the salmon, and then you're just going to kind of mix that all together. And then I add in the pasta that I've cooked separately, which I think I did about a half a pound. This recipe is actually shown in grams on the actual recipe, so I didn't really know what they meant by 500 grams of pasta. Obviously, I could have looked it up, but I just never bothered. For me, for my family, for this meal, about a half a pound of pasta worked well. So I think, yeah, here what I did is I had made some, I believe I did fettuccine for this recipe. So I just cooked up the fettuccine, about a half a box, about a half a pound. And then you just kind of mix it together until it's all the sauce is all mixed through the pasta. Again, like I said, this isn't exactly how it says to serve it in the recipe. The recipe is more where you would put the pasta and then kind of everyone would make their own plate where you'd put some of the salmon and shrimp over top and some sauce. But I just like to do it like this. So if this is something you enjoy, make sure to subscribe to my channel, and also go find me on Apple Podcasts and listen to my other episodes. You might really like them, and there's definitely some inspiration on there for future meal plans.